Good evening, good evening, and welcome to a new edition of Urban Sentinel Live. We're back for the fall season. We kind of hit and miss during the summer. Did some reruns and a couple of live shows, but the fall was almost upon us, and we're back for another. I don't know what word to use, but we're gonna have some great conversations from now until probably December Thanksgiving when we'll take off for the holidays. Tonight I got a treat for everyone. I'm bringing back my sidekick tonight. We haven't been together since we were on Real News TV, and we came together and we did a commentary over there talking about the current events and everything. So tonight I've got with me my sidekick, Sherry Ann Tappett. Come on in, Miss Tappett. Knock on the door. How you doing?
Hey, Reggie, I'm fine. Long time no see.
Good. I tell you, we got people hitting us up already. He's running for president of the United States, CPA. Must be an independent. But so how you been?
I've been good, working a lot, writing a lot, and now my latest obsession to help keep me sane is knitting.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay.
I've been knitting a lot, writing a lot.
Okay. Now, how's your book doing? Your book of poetry doing?
They're humble. I will say I haven't really been aggressive about marketing them, but I will say with a small sense of pride that for a few hours, one of them was ranked number 16 out of 2 million top bestsellers
Oh,
in
okay.
Afro-Caribbean literature and poetry.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, that's good.
that was a fun
That's
ride,
good.
fun
Yeah.
wave to ride for a little while.
Right. That's good. That's good. If you're in the top 100, that's good. Instead of being at the bottom of the 2 million.
Well, now one is, I think, in the top 500 and the other is
Mm-hmm.
in 2000. But out of 2 million, I'm not complaining.
That's what I'm saying. So that's a good thing. That is a good thing. That's a good thing. So how things going in New York?
New York is good. It's been raining a lot,
Mm-hmm.
which I guess helps with the smell.
Right.
I changed jobs, so
Oh, okay.
work life balance is good.
Okay.
And other than that, nothing too exciting going on, except for politics as usual.
Yeah. So who you with? So what are you doing the same thing? You still in real estate?
Yeah, I'm still in real
Okay.
estate.
Okay. Good. Okay. Well, you know the routine. We got to get back in. I tell you, I'm kind of blown away today with the those guys that call themselves Republicans with a small R. I call them publicans with a small P.
Maybe
Uh,
Repugnitans, maybe.
yeah, coming up with the idea of wanting to do inquiry into impeaching the president. Which I think is absurd. But I think one of the things that has happened is that Kevin McCarthy has backed himself into a corner, and he has no way to get out. 'Cause he said that he would have a vote from the full House on whether or not to do the inquiry. Now he just said, "Okay, we're going to do it."
So
So
let me ask you, how PG is this show?
well, hey, you know how you go. I ain't gonna say nothing to you. I'm gonna let you do your thing.
um, I think it's ridiculous, and it's just another sign of how immature this neo Republican Party is. They I'm so torn between thinking that they're really ignorant and unintelligent
Hmm.
and don't know their ass from their elbow in terms of how things are supposed to be done. I mean, you look at some of these repugnitants, as I call them, like
Hmm.
Boebert and Green. They really don't understand how things work.
Right.
Cruz, what's it, George Santos. Some of these people should have never been elected. Now, I don't mind, there have been people who've been elected into office before who didn't have a political background, like the wife of the man who was shot in the head on the Long Island Railroad that inevitably wound up running for office so
Mm-hmm.
that he could try to promote gun legislation. So she went in with a specific agenda and she focused on that, and I have a lot of respect for her for that. But some of these folks have just gone into it because they had backing, and I honestly believe this. Boebert, Green, Santos are being backed by people in the Republican Party who simply want to use them as placeholders in the seat, as somebody to hold the vote. Not
Mm-hmm.
because they know their ass from their elbow about how government works, not because they have any integrity or genuine interest in doing anything for their constituents. Their
Mm-hmm.
constituents are the neo-Republican Party, and they have a very specific agenda in mind right now. They know who butters their bread. They don't have any convictions of their own. They're just spouting the QAnon and MAGA nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to say bullshit, but that'll come out later, I'm sure. So the fact that they're able to basically blackmail McCarthy during the election when he was uh, trying to get that seat as the speaker, and holding the vote repeatedly, these three
Mm-hmm.
holdovers refusing to vote for him and give him a unanimous vote, and none of the other Republicans had the cojones to stand up to this small minority of complete and utter maggots.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why he's in this pickle. I think that he would have held to the we need a full majority vote, but they've got it over him that if he doesn't capitulate to their needs, their wants, that they will vote him out of the position.
Mm-hmm.
And that's his own doing. He agreed to that. And all because he wanted power, which he in fact does not actually have. They have the power of the speaker. He
Mm-hmm.
just has the title. And the fact that the rest of the Republican Party sat back and allowed that to happen is just insanity.
And my thing is a position really worth having when you got to go through as much as he went through to get the position? It's just like, for probably the last 10 years, probably this is where his eye has been on this position. That's what he wanted. After I went through 3 or 4 votes, I would have said, screw it. It's not even worth it. But, he went through a day and a night of voting to get into the position by giving away the position. And now he's stuck, because you got somebody like Boebert and you got, who just barely finished high school, had to go out and get a GED. And you got
The ex-call girl.
Green. She doesn't have brains of a horse. So, you stuck out there taking orders from these two, and then you got the Freedom Caucus who's really putting the screws to him right now, and I can see September 30th coming and the government shutting down because they want deep cuts in the budget. Do we need some cuts in the budget? And we probably do, but not the way the Freedom Caucus wants to do it.
No.
No, they want to.
What we need to do is cut $17,000 toilet paper. What we need to do is cut, make senators and elected officials and the police pay for their own sexual harassment lawsuits when they lose their lawsuits. Let's do that. Let's start there. We need to cut allowing municipalities to purchase military grade weapons. Why don't we start with that? All right. It's insane. It's just.
And I think that's a waste of money buying all that military grade equipment when you don't use it that often. I can see we were in a war and we need to use it every day. They buy stuff. Even in the small town I'm in, we have military grade equipment. I haven't seen it used since they had it.
And you're not going to. I'm convinced that the reason why they're doing this is because the ultimate intent is to use it against the people. And if people like Vivek and Trump and DeSantis, if anybody cut from that cloth wins the presidential election, we will then see those weapons used against us. When communities and people rise up against all of the fascist shit that they want to do. I'm surprised that there isn't more news coverage on Project 2025. I'm surprised there isn't more coverage on the Mandate for Leadership, a 900-page document which basically spells out eliminating our democracy and creating an not even
Well, creating whatever Trump wants to create, and that's what the bottom line is. I mean, just think about it. If he had been allowed to do what he intended to do, and he had carried out his coup, think about where this country would be as far as leadership is concerned. Because they know that in the bigger scheme of things, the power that's out there doesn't affect you and me and all the little people. Okay, now
I don't agree with that though.
no, get where I'm going. Now you take the billionaires and the millionaires, the guys that got real money, it will definitely hurt them. But his whole idea of wanting to do things is to stay in control. Okay. Now, if he was allowed to get in there, I'm pretty sure the Constitution would be torn up and thrown in the trash can. You know, the presidential elections would go away. Local elections might stick around, but the presidential elections would go away because his whole idea was, okay, let me get in here and get this going. Then when I'm old and dried up and about ready to retire, I'll pass it on to my son. He was actually trying to do something. He thought he was in England.
He wanted to create a dynasty.
Yeah, that's what he was going to do.
He wanted to
it was good, and I don't think we need to go. We won't go down that road because I feel like people are not going to elect him. But it's still scary to know that it's out there because. Let me just say this one thing.
Than just out there. Yeah.
If you look at what Huckabee said that this election would be the last election with paper, the next election would be about bullets if they don't elect Trump. And that's the kind of BS that puts nations on the brink of starting civil wars.
But you got, and this takes me back to, and I don't like to be an I told you so. But I remember when we were doing Real World News and when Trump was running and I had genuine concerns that he would win. No, he'll never win. It can't happen. It happened. Then I had genuine concerns about what he would do in government and that he would steal documents, which he absolutely did. That he would try to create his own version of the brown shirts, which he did by trying to militarize the Proud Boys and all of the white supremacist groups out there. All of that shit happened. Now you look at, the various Trump 2.0s that want to come out, DeSantis and Vivek, and they've made it absolutely clear that their intent is to out MAGA. And their entire campaign is just a series of racist, misogynistic, supremacist dog whistles. And, Vivek is saying straight up he would pardon Trump. He would pardon the January 6ers. He would dismantle all of the various agencies. He wants to lay off like 50,000 civic employees, federal employees. They want to remake the government in their image. And they want to, as you suggested, eliminate, if not eliminate elections, take us back to the 1700s where only landed aristocracy could vote. Or as Vivek suggests, eliminating the ability to vote for 18-year-olds. You can't vote until you're 25 or unless you enlist in the army or some nonsense like that. So basically you have to be cannon fodder before you can vote. And if that were to pass, it would not be a stretch for them to then push the women shouldn't vote, push the newly naturalized citizens shouldn't vote, and shrink that pile until it becomes only white cis men, because that is their goal. That's what they want. And we know that the Lost Cause and the people in the South who have been working since the Civil War, the long con, and we are now seeing the results of generations of effort to dismantle the United States of America and remake it in what they wanted in the Confederacy. And so I'm convinced that allowing states to buy military grade weapons is part of that agenda because they know that there's going to be at least, what, 70 million people based on the election, if we just look at voting alone, who would not support that. And
Mm-hmm.
so they know that they would have civil unrest. So, I mean, all of these are just pieces of the same plan of action. And you look at Vivek and you look at Trump and the things that they've said and posted, they're not even hiding the agenda anymore. He wants to just they want to carry on where he left off, even more aggressively, eliminate um, birthright citizenship, eliminate the ability to vote unless you're 25 or have been in the military, yada yada. We see what they're doing, and we see what DeSantis is doing in Florida.
Yeah, and to have a brown person be as racist as he is,
But
as Vic is, he is like, you know, see, he came up in that system, coming from Pakistan and India, that caste system, where you got only two groups of people, the low and the wealthy, okay, the lower class and the higher class. And that's his whole vision of government, is dividing people based on their incomes and things of that nature, based on race and stuff like
oh,
that.
he's an absolute racist.
Oh, yeah.
When you look at him taking a $90,000 scholarship meant for children of immigrants who are impoverished or marginalized, he came from an affluent home. He had millions in the bank. He
Mm-hmm.
did not need that. But then, like Clarence Thomas, he wants to go back and eliminate affirmative action.
Mm-hmm.
And when called out on it in an article recently, he tried to hem and haw and suggest that so like he wants to get rid of affirmative action and race-based scholarships even though he benefited from it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's okay for him, but if somebody comes here from Mexico,
It's not okay for
it's
them.
not okay for them.
Yeah.
Right, so he's an absolute ist,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really frightening and disgusting. Now, I'm heartened by the fact that he had to donate 15 million of his own money into his campaign, and I think he's raised what 450, 500,000.
Yeah,
But
he
he
hasn't
was,
raised a whole lot of money. He's using his own money to perpetrate, his status.
but we
And
know MAGA won't vote for him.
yeah. Oh no, they no.
He's
A
not going to
brown
win the
a
primary.
brown skinned person from India, just like with Tim Scott, they're not gonna vote for Tim Scott. He think everybody, if something happens there, I read an article. He hope people will come and support him. If Trump gets blown out of the water, they need to pare down the people who are running. Support him. No, people are not going to support him. I mean, if I was a Republican, I wouldn't even be impressed with Tim Scott because half the time I don't think he knows what he's talking about or what he's trying to articulate. But and I blame the Democrats for a lot of our problems too that we're having because if you notice, the Republicans have always played dirty, and we have always tried to be angels and not play the game. And I think until the Democrats learn how to play the game and play it hard, this country is always going to be behind the eight ball.
Yeah, but you know what? The problem is we are so far behind in that strategy, that game of obfuscation, lying. The just branding and marketing alone, the Democratic Party, even in the Independent Party as well, have
Mm-hmm.
not. I mean, these guys have mastered it,
Yeah.
and they learned it from the Nazis,
Yeah.
right?
But
Right.
I'm not saying we got to lie and cheat and steal, but we need to voice our opinion. Like I said, like today, I haven't heard I haven't heard the Democrats come out in the strongest terms against what Kevin McCarthy has said today. Okay,
Yeah,
you
but
have to.
again, but they put the Democrats as they so artfully do and so frequently, they back us into a corner because guess what? Nancy Pelosi did the exact same thing with the second indictment. She did
Mm-hmm.
that without a vote. Now we despise Trump, and it was 100% warranted. And I'm not mad at it. And frankly, Congress obviously wasn't mad at it either because it went through. But for McCarthy to grandstand and say this is a dark day in American history because the speaker doesn't have this authority, but then he went ahead and did the very same thing. But you see, Republicans can get away with hypocrisy. Democrats can't, because we don't have the machine behind supporting the branding and the message of the thing that we're doing. The Republicans, they've got who's the media mogul?
I'm talking to the guy from Fox News guy.
What's his name? I can't think of his name right now, but you know, he owns all the media in the country for all intents and purposes. So they start spin doctoring immediately. Then they've got their bots on social media that spin doctor immediately. And the people who relish in the fallacious, righteous indignation. I mean, God, what an easy job. And I've thought about this before. Tucker and all of those people, they know they're lying.
Yep.
They know they're lying, but they do it anyway because it's an easy buck. Imagine being able to go to work every day and just make up any old shit and just sound like you believe it, and you'll still get paid.
Yeah.
But the Democrats don't have that ability. And the day we do is the day that we get called out for hypocrisy.
But we might as well get called out. Nothing else is happening. I mean, we're sinking. Okay, we're sinking, and they know we're sinking because Trump has 54% of the Republican Party who are basically idiots. They don't have, some of them don't even have high school education, running around following him. And the first time he say, pick up your arms and go take over the state government, they'll do it. You know, you look at the guy Proud Boys. I was reading a piece on Sean King today. Sean King said, granted, what he did was wrong, but should he gotten 22 years? No. And the reason being but the reason Sean King said he shouldn't have been, because first of all, if you look at his nationality, he's Afro-Cuban, okay? Secondly,
don't think he knows that.
Yeah. Secondly, he fed so deep into this BS that they were sprouting that he became the fall guy. Look, and he took on the whole thing, which he did. He took it on, and thinking that they were gonna come and back him and take care of him. Oh, they didn't. Look, they said, hey, look, we don't know you no more. Hey, you got to deal with this yourself. You know.
No. I don't think I'm not mad at his sentence. I think the others got off lightly, but he was a significant planner for the Proud Boys.
Roger Stone was a significant planner. Where is he at?
I'm waiting for that to happen, boy.
I'm
thinking the country.
Look, I'm thinking Roger Stone, his scary self. I think he done turned on everybody. Oscar, you don't hear nothing about nothing when it comes to him.
He's a survivalist, and you saw that on his own documentary. After he realized, and again, how petty, after he realized that he wasn't going to be allowed in the on-site green room on January 6th, he left in a tizzy, got in his car, and said that they're fucking this all up. They're messing it up. They're you know what? Rat him out. Give them everything. Screw him. Let him learn his lesson in jail. Yeah. He's saying this on tape in the documentary. So it's no surprise to me that he's not running to defend anybody. He is a survivor. I don't like saying the word because I have a phobia of these things, but he is a cockroach. He is a roach. He could survive nuclear winter. But he will pull other people's strings like a puppet and make them jump and do whatever. And the minute they fail, like Trump, he backs away and you're on your own. I don't feel bad for him. A person of color joining a supremacist organization. What did he think? That he was going to get a pass?
I really thought he was going to get a pass from Trump and those. They used him. They knew he was gullible enough to carry out their agenda or attempt to carry it out. And they left him hanging there. You know, and you look at, you know, you got to give that orange head guy without no brains a little bit of credit. He knew exactly when he woke up on January 6th exactly what he was going to do. He knew good and well that the Secret Service was not going to allow him to go to the Capitol. But at the same time, he was going to plant the seed in those people's heads to make them go up there and act foolish. They say he was sitting in front of TV like he was at a football game, just looking at him. They said he couldn't even pull him away from the TV.
And that's what he thought he would get in New York and in the other places where he's been indicted. He blew the dog whistle, you know, told people where he was going to be and thought that he would get like this massive turnout of people protesting. But at the end of the day, I think that he's only going to get that from. I think even some look after Giuliani gave his testimony, it admitted that he lied about
Mm-hmm.
the Georgia election fraud.
Mm-hmm.
He lost a number of supporters,
Mm-hmm.
and a number of podcasters were livid, saying that for the last umpteen years they've been supporting the notion of the steal, and donating money and not paying their bills and getting other people on board, and to find out that it was all for a lie. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that there is a small section of his supporters that are starting to back off of it a little bit.
Well, I think the real problem going to come in, and I think we're going to see it, is that whenever the Republicans have that national convention, I think that's where you're going to see everything. And I think you're going to start seeing things next year with the Owl caucus. That, granted, he's got 54%, but I don't buy into polls because polls are just
54% of
random
what? Yeah,
sampling of people, okay?
yeah, yeah.
And they might have only sampled 500 people for these polls. I think once the primaries get to going, I think you're going to really see an all-out war break out in the Republican Party,
Oh yeah, a lot
and
of
it's going to continue on
infighting.
through the convention.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and I think at the convention is where you're going to see Orangehead take his last stand.
Who was on the stage? Was it Nikki Haley at the
Yeah.
Republic? Now you see, she's also very dangerous
Oh yeah. Yeah.
because when she ran last year, she gave one speech, and I thought, wow, I like her. She seems really intelligent. And then I blinked, and she started regurgitating all of the
Mm-hmm.
MAGA talking points. I was like, okay, you're undercover. I don't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
She disappeared for a while, and then shows up on stage at the Republican convention, the primary,
Mm-hmm.
and she was the most reasonable sounding person on that stage, but I still don't trust her because she was willing to support the MAGA agenda when she ran the last time. Somebody who flip flops like that
Mm-hmm.
just to get votes, I don't trust you. I
You know,
absolutely don't trust you.
she's a snake in the grass, and I got a friend of mine who's a Republican, and he loves her to death. He sent me pictures from the last primary debate with her, him and her talking and everything. She hugging on him and stuff. I mean, old dude does have some money, so he gives willingly to the Republican Party. But I want to tell him, and I am going to tell him. I said, like I told him about the other guy was a racist, a person of color who's a racist. Nikki is too. Okay. Because Nikki, she's out for Nikki, and she would say anything that the flavor of the day. That's how she is. And I really think deep down inside of her, even though she was governor of South Carolina, and South Carolina has a lot of blacks in that state, I still think even for a person of color, she has she's a racist.
She's a person of color.
Yeah.
I would have never guessed.
Yeah. She's her parents are from India or Pakistan. They're in that
Wow.
group of people.
So, with this Vivek Ramaswamy,
Mm-hmm.
to me, he is just a more intelligent, more accomplished grifter version of George Santos.
Mm-hmm.
When you read excerpts from his book, quotes from interviews that he might have done a year or two ago, and what he's saying now, he's completely flipping the script.
Mm-hmm.
And literally everything he's saying that he will do right now isn't about, there is nothing about him that talks about working across the aisle. There's
Right.
nothing about him that talks about uplifting marginalized people.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that he says he's going to do is part of the MAGA talking points. He's against affirmative action, even though he benefited from it, against abortion, anti-LGBT, believes that reverse racism is real.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's how you know he thinks he's white. Because, first of all, people, if you don't know, there's no such thing as reverse racism. There can be prejudice, but it is not racism unless we have total control over all systems and then can redline and gerrymander and all of that shit. So the fact that a person of color who is educated can say this says to me two things. Either he has no idea what he's talking about because it has not been a part of his experience. So he just doesn't think along those lines. So it's easy for him to regurgitate these white talking points, or he's just a flat out absolute racist who, coming from a country that has a caste system, and they have more than two castes, because
Mm-hmm.
there's even a lower caste that they've just done a
Mm-hmm.
movie about recently, the Untouchables.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the layers of bullshit with all of these candidates is just so thick. You just don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm tired of looking at candidates who have absolutely no political experience. We tried it with Trump. It didn't work. So let's get somebody who knows what they're doing. I had to edit myself here. Tony's not here to yay me for cursing. But let's get people in who understand the rule of law, who understand the Constitution, who understand how the branches of government work and respect the process. Can we go back to that? Because none of these people that are running right now are patriots.
Yeah, but see, those days are gone. The days of Ted Kennedy and the other, can't even think of the Republican names, that they were able to work together across the aisle, go out and have dinner or lunch the next day. They understood politics and they understood how to do it. When the Newt Gingrich gang came along, that's when things started changing. You know, when they're going to do that contract with America and all that kind of stuff, that's when this BS started happening, okay, when Reagan got in the office. Because Reagan was just as racist as some of these other guys are out there, you know. And that's when that wheel got to turning. But you had Ted Kennedy and I forgot the Republican that they worked together to make sure, you know, things stayed on the solid ground. Even though they didn't agree with everything, they always compromised and found a way to get it done. Now, all of that is out the window. And like I said, with what Kevin McCarthy did today, the nation is already divided, okay? You know, we can't, you know, the only place you can get stuff done is on the state level, basically, in local government. Nationally, this nation is divided. And what Kevin McCarthy did today by saying he's going after Biden, he just did really put that line there in the country, down through the middle.
Well, fortunately, right now it's just an inquiry to see if an actual impeachment process needs to be done. But it's a waste of tax money.
Right.
It is a waste of time and a waste of money. And again, if I were their constituents who are suffering from, you know, lead in their water, unemployment, insurance issues, I mean, they've got a host of other issues that need to be addressed today. And I would be so upset with my elected officials. But again, you know, for wasting their time focusing on this singular issue, which is not going to do anything to improve their life now. You know, you want to make change, get rid of the Electoral College.
Yeah, and that needs to go. The Electoral College is antiquated. They don't need it anymore. The only reason it was run along was to give the states that didn't have a great population of slaves and stuff the opportunity to win. It's over with now. Get rid of it. It should have been gone a long time ago. It should have been gone before the 20th century came along. You know,
it didn't work to disqualify Trump. So I just say get
rid of it. You don't need it. You know, it should be a popular vote. They shouldn't even be having an electoral college, you know, because that's how Trump won the first time. He was able to get those states that were red and get their electoral votes, which Clinton couldn't get, and that's how he won. He didn't even get the popular vote.
But he didn't win.
Yeah, this time he didn't get the popular vote either. And to show you how stupid he is and how his people followed behind him, he said, he made a comment where, you know, I must have won. Look how many votes I got, and look how much merchandise I sold. And that meant Biden didn't sell no merchandise, and they said he beat me. Look at all the merchandise I sold. I don't know. It's irritating, you know, the thinking, you know.
Yeah, you'd think that when he'd lost, it'd be over. But, you know, all of these people in Congress right now who are his supporters, these are the rats on the ship, and they're just waiting to see if they're going to jump ship or not. So they have no choice but to balls to the wall support Trump or Vivek. Because those are the only two people who would pardon them. or look the other way for their transgressions during
Mm-hmm.
the January 6th insurrection and
Mm-hmm.
all the other nonsense that they've been doing.
Right.
Because if Biden wins again, or any other reasonably minded individual, whether Republican or Democrat, but if a reasonable, intelligent individual wins that is not beholden to the parties and can act independently, all of those people, the Gates, the Boberts, the Greens, they're going to have to watch out because if Trump gets indicted, if Trump goes to jail, if all the other insurrectionists and the fraudulent electors get found guilty, they're next, and I'm
Mm.
waiting for that with bated breath.
Yeah. And there's a silver lining. It's a small silver lining. You got a couple states like Colorado. They are trying to use the 14th Amendment to keep Trump off the ballot. And I think what you're going to see, and I hope it does happen, like in the Democratic states where they had a Democrat, like here in Maryland, we're a complete blue state. Okay. We should go after the 14th Amendment and use it against him. And I think if you started piling that on, even though wasn't going to win here in Maryland anyway, just as a symbolic measure, I think they'll start getting people, turning into a different direction too. Because in Colorado, if I'm not mistaken, it's a Republican group that's using the 14th Amendment to try to keep his name off the ballot. And and I think that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see a grassroots effort to do things like that. Because I mean, not all Republicans are bad, just like all Democrats aren't bad. And I think a lot of them realize that, if you allow this thing to go on too long and he does get back in office, this country is going to be into a terrible shape. I mean, just think about he would destroy the world if he gets back in office by just simply pulling us out of NATO, which he would do. He would stop sending money to Ukraine. And, that's one of the reasons Putin is trying to hold on. Putin's trying to hold on until the next election before he gives in and say, okay, look, let's have a peace treaty. He wants to see if Trump gets elected because he knows Trump will just allow him to do what he wants to do because he'll shut the Ukraine operation down.
Also at Vivek.
Vivek could shut it down there, he would shut it down there. He's not even president, But we're on the cusp of some crazy things happening in this country, and things getting worse.
Cusp.
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching the union dismantle itself as various states are mirroring Florida with their anti woke, which basically means anti people of color. Let's call it a spade, right? Yeah. Getting rid of Afro-American studies. Anything African American is all lumped under one thing called CRT, which is bullshit. So, like, you can learn about Rosa Parks on a bus, but you can't learn about why she was on the bus, why she was asked to get up, and what happened after. Like, it's just nonsense.
Yeah.
And so you've got other states. I think at least 3 or 4 other states are joining that bandwagon. And that's because they have the governors and the elected officials to promote that. So, I still think that we need to have Democrats and independents start moving to other states to tip the scales. But as long as we have the Supreme Court that seems wishy-washy on how it wants to deal with redlining and gerrymandering, it won't even matter if we move to other states.
They are wishy-washy. But they did tell Alabama they got to put that second district in there for a black majority district. Now, Alabama said no. So what was happened, the federal judge has said, look, I'm going to appoint a special master to go ahead and do it. And this is what it's going to be. I think you're going to have you're going to have to be more aggressive. The court's going to have to be more aggressive to get things done.
But the Supreme Court doesn't have enforcement power.
Right. They don't have enforcement power. But, I think people have always gone with the idea if the Supreme Court say that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do. And that's why the federal judge has come out and said, Alabama, you're going to change this. If not, I'm going to change it for you. And that's what they're going to do. And I think it's going to end back up in the Supreme Court But I think the Supreme Court gonna say, look, Alabama, the people need to be well represented and everything. Going back to what you were saying about these states, especially Florida, and another thing they do too, they always find a black flunky to be a part of the charade also. The person who overhauled the programs, the educational programs in Florida, the chairman of the committee was black. Okay, that's what they always do. They find this Uncle Tom's nephew out there, and
I mean, that just takes that to a whole nother level,
uh-huh,
though.
uh-huh.
To have a grown ass African American man stand there and say slavery was a compromise and that everybody benefited from it and all of this other nonsense, it's absolutely mind-boggling. Now, the only thing that makes sense to me is the dollar. And if somebody's willing to sell their soul and they don't give two shits because they want their nickel, then I can understand why they're willing to bite that bullet and do it, because they don't care, because the only thing they care about is money. But if it's not money, then I have a hard time, like Scott. I have a hard time believing that he grew up and never experienced racism.
He in South Carolina. Look,
exactly.
They probably tore him up every day. And look, he reminds me of the guy in Bill Cosby's show, Fat Albert, the one that always had the buck teeth and everything. He looked just like, he looks like a cartoon character. But let me tell you, that he's lying. He is lying. In South Carolina, they probably wore his butt out as a kid when he was coming up. He probably couldn't go certain places, couldn't do certain things.
But that's not the story he's telling.
Oh, shoot.
He's telling this rose glass colored rosy story.
Well,
everything was wonderful. Race didn't play a part. Everything. The grass was green. The sky was blue. And like it's just a Manchurian candidate. Like what the hell? I grew up in New York. I grew up in Brooklyn and Manhattan, and I lived in another country for a little while. And this is a very diverse state, but even I experienced racism in New York. So you can't tell me that you were in the heart, the tail end of the Bible Belt, and you're going to tell me that you didn't experience any kind of racism. Give me
They wore him out, but they let him tell it. Nothing happened down there to him and everything, and it's still
just a good old boy now.
Yeah, it's still going on. And I think that his audience is a group of people who are curious, okay?
That and white people who are racist who want to convince themselves they're not. Oh,
yeah.
Look, see, I like this black candidate. This one's a good one.
Yeah, this is one of the good ones, This is one of the good ones, okay? This is one that we can trust.
Vivek is a shyster. He is a con man. He is a liar. He has no respect. And it's like they're all going to the same school. The same school for politics and how to brand themselves. They talk over the newscaster or the journalist when they're asking a legitimate question. He goes on and on about wanting transparency. I'm transparent. But they ask a hard-cutting question. Well, I'll answer that when you invite Biden in here and ask him about this. And George Santos just did the same thing. And he was like, I'm not trying to deflect, but when are you going to invite Biden? And she's like, you are deflecting. You lied about this, and this. And he's like, well, I'll answer that after you bring him on. So they're all learning the same form of gaslighting and arguing to avoid answering the questions or addressing the issues. And their entire platform is just dog whistles. There's nothing under their belt to justify voting for them or to suggest that they have any sense of community or any sense of patriotism. Absolutely nothing. Nothing. There's no proof in this pudding other than spouting off the same right-wing MAGA talking points.
And they're going to continue to do that. I think we're in an era now that's this kind of conversation, even if the Democrats take government back over again after the next election, that's what they're going to constantly be talking about. It's always going to be the boogeyman is in the room.
No, those people are broken. And I don't know if tomorrow morning they were to wake up and find out that everything Trump said was a lie, and as we all know, there's still be some holdovers who stick with
Mm-hmm.
it
Mm-hmm.
because he has become like a messiah to them.
Yeah. And think about it too. They don't realize that all this money they're giving him, the only reason he's in this race is to get things that he needs to get to have the money. And it's all about money. That airplane of his was sitting on a runway in New York, in New Jersey, at the end of the runway with bandages on it. That's how broke down that plane was. And he took money from his campaign and got it back up and running again. You
He's
know,
a millionaire. He's a billionaire. He's so successful.
or she
But
is
let
successful
me
at
not
what?
pay my rent and send him money to help him.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
You know, I mean, he took and buried his ex-wife on the property in order to beat the property taxes.
Mhm.
Most states have it. If you bury somebody on your property, you don't have to pay property
If
tax.
I were her, I would haunt his ass.
I wish you would. Maybe he'll stop running. Maybe
You
she can
know, and
stop.
and look, and his kids, her what how many what were they whose mother was she? Ivanka and
I
one of the
think she
boys, or are they
Ivanka. Yeah.
but the kid or kids allowed it.
Hmm.
They allowed it. And
Yeah.
I think those I feel sorry for his children. Yes, they
Hmm.
grew up in the lap of luxury. Yes, they grew up with a gilded spoon up their ass,
Hmm.
but they also grew up with a narcissistic, abusive individual who, I mean, those boys in particular
Hmm.
need help.
They need
Those
all kind of help.
boys need help. They are destroyed as human beings.
And his daughter needs help too. Cause I mean, Trump acts like a pedophile when he's around her.
Oh yeah, no, I don't doubt that.
Yeah.
I don't doubt that.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that she's a little bit stronger than the brothers are.
Yeah, but
Because
I think too he's put her through something too that she's probably never going to talk about. You know, and she's
uh,
never going to talk about. You know, and she needs to let it all hang out. You know, but we in some tough times in this country now, and the other countries around the world are looking at us and saying, Lord have mercy, what's going on in the United States?
oh God, yeah, I went to Ireland for a couple of weeks
Yeah, what
recently.
are we talking about over there?
Oh my God, they're laughing at us. I don't say
Uh-huh.
I'm American. I say I'm from New York
Uh-huh.
because that way the first filter it's just received differently because
Hmm.
I am embarrassed by this country right now.
Hmm.
And the anti-intellectual, like again, it's all culminating in the same thing: the anti-intellectualism, the neo-evangelical nonsense,
Hmm.
the messing with our ability to vote. Like it's all working towards one crescendo, and that is to completely dismantle this democracy. And we are sitting here watching it happen. And these people in the Midwest who are gleefully supporting Trump, I don't know what they think they're going to get out of this because their life
Nothing.
is going to be hell
Hmm.
when this goes through. They're not going to suddenly live in the city, the shining city on a hill. They're not going to suddenly have jobs and affordable health care.
Hmm.
It's going to get worse. It's going to get 100% worse.
Well, I think for the most part, to a certain extent, democracy has already been the coffin is already the nails already in the coffin because of the struggles this country goes through every day. Nothing is happening in D.C. as far as getting bills passed to help people. It's all around it's all around seeing who can be in power. It's a power struggle right now.
Oh yeah, no, they want to be rulers of the world,
Hmm.
and they want us to be their little serfs.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, with the cost of living, yes, honey, I know.
Hmm.
She just came in from her dog. Hey, Kizzy. With the lack of cost of living increases,
Hmm.
the increased cost of groceries, which is not Biden's fault.
Right.
That's because of COVID. That's because of the war in Ukraine.
Hmm.
Like people, like do a little research, people, and you'll get the answers.
But they
But
don't.
they don't want the
Yeah.
answers. They want
Yeah.
to be right, but
Hmm.
not factual.
Yeah.
It's just so it's we're basically serfs now.
Hmm.
We barely make enough. unless you've got a side hustle
Mm-hmm.
or three, and you have an extra amount of income, and you have an accountant who knows
Mm-hmm.
how to work the system so
Yeah.
that you can slowly get ahead. We
Mm-hmm.
all barely just make enough to afford our roof over our head, our shoe, food, and insurance,
Mm-hmm.
the bare necessities.
Yeah, and that
It's
and that's what it is. I mean, we are suffering. I mean, I mean, you and I are making it because we are part of the so-called the bottom half of the middle class. But look at people that are below us, the really poor people in this country. That don't get the help. You thought after the pandemic and when things started picking up, the economy would start picking up, that the food banks would go away. They're not going anywhere,
no.
and people are suffering. You'd be surprised, the type of cars you see pulling up at the food bank, but people need food. These are people that have worked all their lives as professionals, and things have gotten high out of whack, and jobs and things of that nature, and they need food in the house.
They
They
want
got
to
to
get
pay the
rid
bill.
of the middle class.
Yeah,
That's
they
what
got
they
to pay
want.
the bills. So pay the bills and go to the food bank and get the food. You know.
Con Edison last year, for 1 month, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what the hell happened because it's a small apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, for argument's sake, it was 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
My Con Ed bill was 1,700.
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous.
I don't
So
even.
you just can't get ahead.
I don't even fight with my electric bill no more. I just pay it.
I turn off everything throughout.
Yeah, they got so much crap with them. They want to blame it on the fuel costs. They want to blame it on this and blame it on that. I just
You know
pay
what?
it.
Give me a bicycle and attach it to the system, and I'll earn my electricity. Let me supplement it that way.
But
But
I know it's a lot of people in my neighborhood now. They're getting solar panels because they don't want to pay their electric bill no more. They coming out. I know one buddy of mine when he got his solar panels, his first couple months of bills were zero, and then he's averaging maybe $20 or $30 a month is his electric bill.
yeah, well, I don't know if I can do that in an apartment.
Well, you can't do it in an apartment building.
Yeah, I wish.
Yeah,
But
you can do.
I could put my dog on a treadmill. Get
Yeah,
her working.
don't kill the dog. Well, look, Miss Tappan, it's been real. I have enjoyed hanging out with you tonight. So we're gonna have to do. You welcome. Come on back on the board. We can do this, and even we'll get Tony on here one week.
When she gets over her new marital bliss.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to say we got to pull her away from that. We got to hit her husband up first and see can he give up for 1 hour. On a particular night and everything. But
We do need to have a reunion show just to talk about all the stuff that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we had to stop the show before the insurrection, before the indictments, when things finally started getting good.
Mm-hmm. And look, yeah, we did. I used to. I don't know if her cousin is still on Facebook or not. I haven't seen her in a while. Yvonne, because she was on. I was a Facebook friend with her one time. I haven't seen her in a while.
I think we're friends. I don't see anything though.
Yeah, and who was the person that always came on every Tuesday night we could depend on?
There was Penny. There was
and what's
Jacqueline?
Jacqueline. Yeah. So I know Tony was getting a little tired, but I just kept on going because I enjoy doing this.
No, I enjoyed it too. It's just I wish I could do it during the day, but I can't.
Yeah.
But we'll talk.
Yeah, and like I said, we'll be back on next Tuesday night, same place, same time.
Okay. Maybe I'll do a guest appearance. Who do you have on the show tomorrow next week?
It's a lady out of Harlem, Celeste, and she's one of the few, and might be the only black female brewer in the country.
Really? I feel like there's one in Brooklyn.
That might be her. Her name is Celeste.
Don't recall.
I would have to look up the name of her beer and everything, but she's been up and down the East Coast promoting the beer. A friend of mine in North Carolina turned me on to her. She was down in, I want to say, in Greensboro weekend before last at a Total Wine and Beverage. um, doing samples, doing beer samples and everything. She's got a good product. Me and her talked the other day, and so
Got to get those two guys from Tennessee.
which ones?
Is it Jonas? The two black officials that keep getting kicked out of the house.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that too. I need to talk to them too and everything, you know, and this is the whole thing, how Republicans are. Both young men have not come to them to talk about anything that deals with race. Everything they've talked about and pushed deals with taking care of the Americans, okay? Of people, gun violence and things of that nature. And for Republicans to not want to talk about gun violence and things we need to do to limit gun violence, that just shows how low they are and out of touch with society they are. I can see that them getting all bent out of shape, they would come talking to them about black power and all that kind of stuff, but that conversation has been about helping all Americans.
I mean, you know what's very interesting is you hear, and I will make this point quickly because I know the show's going to end soon. You hear a lot of comments about, you know, Black Lives Matter, or just, you know, protests by people of color for police abuses and stuff like that. It just seems like the white American community doesn't care about their own. They would rather spend their energy complaining about Black Lives Matter, who are complaining about legitimate issues that also affect them.
Yeah.
But you don't see them rear up when one of their own gets shot or evidence is planted, because it happens.
Yeah.
It happens frequently. The media doesn't galvanize that as much as they do with people of color, because they don't want it to seem like it's an everybody issue, that it's just an us issue. But at the end of the day, they don't care about their own.
They don't. They don't. They put two guys out of the state assembly because they were fussing about gun violence and protecting children, all children, not just black children, all children. Just shows that you're right. They don't care. If they get killed, they get killed. We just keep on going.
Well, these are also people who, keep in mind too, support the pharmaceutical industry and you know, probably support Agenda 21 with the depopulation. You know, so I mean that is the only two reasons why the lack of responsible gun legislation makes sense to me. Is one, they're getting ready for civil war and want to make sure their people have guns, and two, population control.
Look, black folks around here, boy, they buying up some guns and some they're getting concealed carry permits. I got a friend who does classes, and every time he does a class, he says more black women than men. He said these black women are buying up some guns left and right.
If you got a class in New York at this point, I would take it.
Yeah. He only charges $500, and you get your license and everything when you come out of it.
And if you get a pistol with that too, then $500 would be worth it.
Yeah. But you ain't gonna do that, you know. But you get the license and everything to go buy the pistol, you know. But so things are changing. But look, it has been real tonight, and like I said, you know, you're welcome. You're welcome to be here anytime you want to be here. And you know, I'll work on you and get you on here on a steady.
Okay, I'll tell you do that.
Okay, love you now. You take care of yourself. Tell your husband I said hi. Okay. And this has been Urban Sentinel Live with Reggie Kern and Sherry Ann Tappan, and we've just been talking about politics tonight, you know, about where this country is going and where it's headed, you know. The one thing you can do, if you haven't already done, please go out and register to vote. Exercise your vote, you know. Please do that, you know.
Before you lose it.
That's right. You know, use it before you.
We're on the precipice of that.
Yeah, and remember that your ancestors, and not too long ago, were fighting for the right to vote. So, stop talking to Yang about, you know, voting doesn't help. Voting does help, okay? So get out and vote, okay? So look, until next week, everyone, take care. This has been Urban Sentinel Live. Take care. Have a good week. Be safe. Love you. Take care now. Bye-bye.